All right, so Kip first got into financial services in 1967. He runs a wealth management firm here in California. He's here at the Sun today. He shared some thoughts on stage before on multi-generational planning and to the family office and the family office. And there's not so many people in the world like that are experienced wealth youth and family offices and really specialize in going deep with every member of the family to figure out all the interdynamics going on within the business and the family business and the portfolio and all those things interact with each other. So I thought it'd be great to contrast some of the other speakers from today, have Kip here with us and share some of his thoughts and strategies on developing your family office formula and how to work by team offices more effectively. So let's welcome Kip out to the stage. Thank you.
Okay, you're going here, right? Okay. I am Kip Kolson. I own Family Wealth Leadership along with my son Kevin, who is here. We focus on families that have an net worth somewhere between $25 to $300 million. The reason for that is not that we don't want a $1 billion client, but we feel like that segment is very underserved. And Richie made the comment earlier, and he's absolutely right. Many times they don't even know what a family office is. And they have all the same issues, all the same problems, like 25 million, 100 million, 150 million. And a lot of those problems, which we'll get just a tad into today, is going to be focused around what's going on in the family. So we're here to talk about investment strategies. I'm taking it a little differently and not how to grow your wealth, but how to keep from losing it. So that's going to be our focus today. And the two big issues of losing wealth are going to be the family, because families, when money's on the table, they can get really ugly, unfortunately, and taxes. So those are going to be our focus. So families. This is a typical situation you see in families, especially if you have a family that's a business owner family, and you're going to get these tug of wars because most often the families at the end of the segment I'm talking about, they haven't done the right kind of financial planning or estate planning or succession planning, and they haven't brought the kids into the process. And it's all very secret. And if you don't manage the expectations, ugly things are going to happen. 70% of wealth is lost every time it goes from one generation to the next and gone by the end of the third generation. We want to keep that from happening. And part of the issue here is this quote here: there's nothing so unequal as the unequal treatment of unequals, the equal treatment of unequals, excuse me. So what we want to do is create the family office. As you see, we call it the Family Enterprise Office Holding Company, because the family office, excuse me, is a structure that now you can bring the whole family in around the table, start talking about values, start talking about goals, objectives, but more importantly, it becomes a business school, because the next generation does not know how to manage wealth, and they're not being taught how to manage wealth. This gives us an opportunity to bring the family together and start having business meetings and start finding out who can fill what roles, see how the kids are reacting, and then they can make those kind of decisions. So I won't say a whole lot more about that. If you're near a family office, we'd love to talk to you. The strategy I'm going to talk about is a philanthropic strategy. It's called impact investing. And here's an example. The Working Ranch is a ranch. It's a 501c3 in Montana, and their goal is to work with women who have been subjected to sex trafficking and trying to rehabilitate them to get them back into society. But the ranch is actually going to run as a for-profit in addition to being a charity. And so the reason is, if they can create some income, now they don't have to constantly try to go out and raise money. So the ranch would have the ability to bring like family retreats, could be a vacation spot, could have business retreats, could have a wedding there. It would have a store and sell, for example, Western gear. You could stable horses for other people and so forth. So you could create some income. So here's what impact investing looks like. So on the left, this is kind of the traditional way, right? You sell the asset, you pay the taxes, you give the money, or you can't put the asset into like a CRP and save the taxes. But in impact investing, we create a special donor advice fund. And so the asset goes into the donor advice fund. It's then sold, so there's now no capital gains tax to deal with. And then the donor advice fund now makes a loan instead of a gift. And in this case, also, we like to encourage charities that are hiring the people that are trying to help. So, for example, these ladies would be able to work on the ranch and start getting and building up a resume so they could then get back into society. So that loan, though, has to be repaid with interest. So now what we're doing is we're basically taking those dollars and we get to recycle them. So rather than giving money away, you now have the ability to recycle that dollar and use it many, many more times. Because the traditional way, of course, is if you do $1 a year, you're going to spend $10 over the 10 years versus we can take, you can't really see this very well, but we could trade $1 and keep recycling it. That means you keep $9 inside the family. So that $9 can be reinvested and continue to grow the wealth of the family. The next one I want to talk about, I call it an offset, but long-term capital gain leveraged LLC. This one gets really complicated. So you're getting a very 30,000 foot view here. But the idea is this company, GFX Trading, which is a company that trades in predominantly currencies. But they create this master LLC and a series LLC. There's a fee for their services. And then the client contributes 10% of what they're trying to raise. I was using Mellon Dollars, but here they're going to own 99.9% of this series LLC. The master LLC owns 0.1% because it's going to actually act as a manager of it, but it will also create a line of credit for the difference, in this case, $900,000. Well, that now means they've got $1 million to be trading, and assuming these are obviously hypothetical numbers, if we create $60,000, but there still be interest to be paid on that line of credit. There could be trading costs and so forth. So in this situation, what happens is, in addition to some profit, 100% of this $46,000 will go to the client. So when the client gets the K1 at the end of the year, they got that $46,000 to use to offset against other forms of income. And over time, because these things usually they set up to run for 15 years, so again, I've only used 690, so that we could renew this and do it again and keep recycling it. So it's a complicated one. It depends on a lot of situations. And the next strategy is private placement life insurance. This is in many ways the same thing as universal life insurance. The difference is in universal life insurance, you write a check. Part of that check goes to the cost of insurance. The other part goes to building the cash value. And you get to invest the cash value in whatever the insurance company tells you can invest it in, which is usually mutual funds. In private placement life insurance, what we're doing now is we can actually take an asset. It could be cash, but I'm using an example of an asset. So here I've got a $10 million apartment project. First thing I'm going to do is put it into the irrevocable life insurance trust, and then that trust is going to use that, if you will, to buy the insurance. And so it goes into the universal life policy with a special and dedicated fund that you can use for any kind of investments you want to use. Because you now, as the owner of the life insurance policy, you get to determine where you want to invest the money. I do have to share that that's going to be treated when it goes into the life insurance policy. It's going to be treated as a sale, and there would be capital gains. However, once it's in, and this is not going, there we go. Once it's in the life insurance policy, they can grow, all those assets can grow tax deferred. So basically, instead of paying tax every year, you keep those dollars to be recycling them and grow and reinvesting them. And then at death, it goes back to the beneficiary, which in this case would be the trust. And that would either be the dollar amount of the death benefit, but let me caution, we usually don't want to have a lot of life insurance underneath it because we want to keep the cost of the life insurance as low as possible. Or in this case, the assets would go back into as a beneficiary into the trust. The next one, and this one's been around forever. It's a testamentary charitable annuity trust. And the way this works is it's set up already. Usually you put it into your living trust. At the second death, now you're going to have taxes to pay, estate taxes. In this case, I'm using an example of a $55 million estate used up $30 million in order to use what is called the unified credit. That's $30 million is per couple right now. That's going to change over years. We don't know, and it also depends on who's in office at any given point in time. But we still have $25 million of tax or estate that's going to be taxed. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a portion of those dollars and move over into this thing called the D-flat. And I'll come back and tell you why there's a 13.5 there instead of a lower number. The D-flat then distributes out on an annual basis. In this case, I'm using 5% to the charities that they want to support. Now, the reason I'm using 13.5 is because the IRS says because the money is going out on an annual basis over, in this case, I've used 20 years, then we have to do a present value calculation to determine how much you actually get to deduct off of your taxes, or how much will be a gift, if you will. So here, as long as this AFR here is low, AFR, by the way, is the allowable federal rate that the government uses for this calculation. So in this case, 13.5, it's just the $10 million worth of deduction. That leaves 11.5 to go to the heirs. There's still going to be a tax on that 11.5. And then I've assumed here that the heirs would grow that at 6% over the 20 years. Now, will they really do that? Well, based on the comment I made a lot earlier about what happens to families, usually the heirs don't invest it, they spend it. And that's part of the problem we want to do. So another advantage of putting this money into the T-flat is the heirs don't get control over that. They can't get their hands on that in order to spend it down. So over 20 years, that T-flat will still grow based on how it's being invested. And even after giving out the distribution, so at the end of the 20 years, it would be 18.5. But just to show you, and this is the important part here, and this is why this takes analysis at that moment in time. If we raise that AFR to 6%, now the T-flat has to go to 17.4. The heirs now only get 2.4, and 20 years, again, assuming they invested it would be 28 instead of the 36.2. So I have gone through 5 strategies very fast. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy. Evan and I will be here for the rest of the day. I thank you.
If you are a founder, raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, would love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.